Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of In the Chute. With me is my son Calen Carpenter, the tech wizard, and me, the old man. So, what do you got for us today, Calen?
So actually something we were just talking about, and you and Braden before you left and mom have all been working on recently, is some basic infrastructure maintenance and just improvements that we have to do for the ranch on a regular basis. Like you said, there's no real gain to it, but it's necessary for what you got to do. And what you're doing right now is it's actually electrical work. So just curious, why now? Because it's been there for, you said, several decades. What's the reason for wanting to upgrade now when it's been working just fine? And what's some of the benefits and I guess costs, uh, both financially and time wise and stuff like that when it comes to just things like this, even though it's an individual product
Yeah,
project.
yeah. I mean, this is not a small thing. It's
Yeah.
the entire electrical into the ranch here, and it's not very far. It's just a aging system. Last fall, uh, your grandmother's husband or your plugged in an electrical cord outside and blew a breaker and blew the main breaker. Uh, I think I know why, but I can't prove it. I mean, it's long ago, but um, of an evening. What the fuck?
It's all good on my end. You can keep going.
Yeah, I just went to, for some reason, there we go. Sorry for language. I went right to the Zoom screen. So
Yeah, you're good.
this is kind of like Biden's summit on climate change here. Totally awkward. Anyway, um, blew the main breaker, the 200 amp breaker at the meter, and they called the power company. And those guys, those linemen, they are not appreciated enough. And I've never questioned the work they do. When you lose power, you're like, something happened somewhere. I bet those guys are on it. It's never a question of, geez, I wonder if they know this, because yeah, they know. People are calling. Stay off the damn phone. They don't need to answer the 400th call, in an hour. So those guys are out there, and it's usually bad weather,
Oh yeah.
horrible conditions. Especially springtime, high winds, wet
I would
snow.
say
The
and,
whole,
and ice on those pegs that they're probably
oh yeah,
climbing, like,
oh
ooh,
yeah,
you slip and you could
oh
really, if not
well.
die, hurt yourself for sure.
Yeah, they use a lot of bucket trucks now too, so which is a good thing. But anyway, they're still out there in that stuff, and so blew the breaker. They called. Those guys came out at night and looked at that breaker and went, "Ooh, man, this thing is toast. It's old. Um, we'll see what we can do." They found a used breaker at, like, in the back of a hardware area, and they put it in, and helped us out, or helped them out, because I was not even here, and got them powered up for the night. And of course, your grandma's on oxygen, so she has a you know need for electricity to run a oxygen machine. And they said, well, we got to do something with this sometime. You might want to consider something a little bit more reliable. We talk about reliability a lot,
Mhm.
sustainability, but reliability is a big deal. And so they let it go, and I got through the winter, and I've been crossing my fingers and toes and everything that this thing's going to hold together. And so now the frost is out of the ground, and it's time to do something. So I called them up, told them what I wanted to do, and I thought, you know what, we've got a couple of poles here that are right in the yard, in the way, right next to the shop, that are really in tough shape, especially one next to the shop. I'm worried every time the wind comes up, because that thing moves, and these overhead lines, they're swaying, and they're swaying because the pole is moving. I'm like, oh my god, this thing is, it's bad. So foreman come out. They come right out the next day, and he said, yeah, we'll see what we're going to do, and we'll make a plan. And had some really good suggestions. I was thinking it was going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000, because of moving some poles or setting some poles, and just burying a bunch of underground line that I thought is necessary. Let's get these old overhead lines out of here. We're always watching when somebody moves a tractor around, and you got something in the air and you have to work around it. It's just a hazard, and We want to expand on that shop at some point. So I listened to him, and he had a suggestion that would take the cost from my estimate, which was just completely worst case scenario, pulling something out of my butt that had no idea, around 10,000. He said, we can do this for about 2. Oh, giddy
We're
up.
good.
Let's, yeah, will you put that in writing?
Yeah.
Uh, so I said, all right, let's get started. So he staked it out, and then the rest is just grunt work on our part. I talked to an electrician because, I don't want to hook this stuff up myself. This is big stuff,
Right.
and it's important. And so I called, somebody you know well, Austin Skogas, who's an electrician, and he just went to work for another outfit. And I said, hey, what's the logistics of this? As they need to put in a loop in the meter box. And he goes, yeah, I could probably do it, but I'm working for somebody. As I completely understand, and you're covered, some liability wise that way. They're bonded and all that. And I said, no, it's the right thing to do. But I needed some direction because I don't use electrical services that much, professionally. So they're coming out, coordinate with that in the REA, and in the meantime, we rented a trencher and stuck that in conduit, between 24 and 30 inches in the ground. And of course, had to miss some fiber optic cable and all of that kind of good stuff. But it's kind of an important thing. But we're
Yeah.
successful doing that and finding the old lines coming in. And so, yeah, we buried the cable, big heavy cable. It was, you're looking, oh my God, that was actually cheaper than I thought, because I was thinking we were going to be up there around $1,200 for cable, and it was, we're about 400. So that was good. That was a good thing. So we're going to be doing that on Thursday. They're going to come up, pull these poles, and it's funny that I'm still holding my breath that this stuff's going to hold together for a few more days, but I'm sure it would. It might run another 10 years,
Right.
but this is something that's not going to help us anything. It's not going to increase anything we do, any capabilities. It just won't, because it's just replacing what we got, but just making it more reliable. And so there's
Kind of
a
like fence in a weird sense. It.
yeah, yeah. In a way, it's a maintenance issue that you don't do maintenance on all that often.
Right.
The tag on this one pole out here is 1977, and that's when it was put in new. Well, we've had service down to this place long before that, so that was a new
Right.
pole in 77, and now it's uh, tough enough that I worry about it. And I told this foreman who running this crew and staking everything out, looking at everything over. I said, yeah, this pole doesn't look too good to me. I'm worried about it breaking and pulling these lines down. He goes, I'm not. Yeah, if it breaks, it'll break, and these lines will hold it up, not going into your shop. So, well, he's got a lot of experience at this. I got to take his word
Yeah.
for it. He's probably right. That's. I'm expecting. You expect or plan for the worst and hope for the best, and that's kind of my worst plan. Is it, thing comes down and pulls a bunch of wires down, and you got hot wires laying on the ground, and you know, got to get to that breaker and shut her down.
Well, and I thought another important part was you guys opted to try and do some of the grunt work up front. One, so it makes it easier for them. And
Yeah.
two, it's less costly for us, right? Because then you're essentially not paying for man hours. You're just putting forth the effort on your end. Now, does it take away from other things you could be doing? Yeah. But it's
Right.
gonna financially it's gonna cost a whole lot less by putting up that preparation work, so to speak.
Well, yeah. I mean, I bought the conduit. I didn't have to do conduit, but I thought, you know what? It's under a
Protects it.
heavy trafficked area under, the road coming in here.
Mhm.
And it's going to be under a cement pad that we're going to put down at some point. Let's just put this thing in conduit, and we can, pull it through at some point if we had to, if something catastrophic happened, and it's going to protect it. So, that's a couple $100 you didn't have to put in, but I just thought it was, maybe a little smart doing it.
Well,
And
and
then,
putting forth a couple $100 for something like that versus dealing with, I don't know, some random kid coming out there and not paying attention and starting to dig and slice through some of your wires.
well, yeah, I mean, you got to be a fool now to not call before you dig. I mean, I mean,
well, you
that's
guys
something you
did.
do. What's that?
I said, well, you guys did. I got a letter about it when I was here in Fort Knox as a baby cadet.
Well, yeah, but it was not about where we dug. We just simply pulled a post out
Yeah, true.
that needed to be replaced. And apparently either somebody put a post in there after the fact and just barely missed it,
Yeah.
or they and I can't imagine they trenched that close to a post. But yes, cut a line, pulling a post
Always
out,
call before you dig.
all before you dig. So yeah, I mean, but anyway, then we got the trencher, $200 for a trencher
We've
that
used the trencher before on a couple of things, and it's worth its weight in gold when you need it.
well,
But
and
it's
this was a
not worth
better one.
holding on to. It's worth renting it.
It is worth. Oh yeah, you'd know. Well, this thing they cost several thousands of dollars, and this was a tracked one, so it was even better.
Yeah.
And the deeper you go, the heavier they got to be. So it was really easy to run, and your brother and I cleaned out the trench, laid that wire down in the conduit, set her in, and had everything set where we wanted to go, and then we just started backfilling. Sounds easy. Took a day. So we started probably 9:30, 10 o'clock. By the time we got animals taken care of and uh, calves bottle fed, the one we got, the normal stuff that you got to do, and then you get onto this. And I think we were done about probably 6 that night, something like that. We were 8, 9 hours on our bellies, and you know clearing out a 4-inch wide trench, and I mean just a pain because we had to go under the fiber optic cable. That was a real joy.
Oh, I'm sure
Get
it
that
was.
done. Yeah, so it's done. We got exposed ends waiting for these guys to show up. And yeah, what would it cost to hire a crew to trench that down, do everything that we did in a day when you're paying them, I don't know how much an hour to do
Right.
that. So it's just smart. Do that labor yourself. What did I pay your brother? Nada. What
Thanks
did I
until
get
you're better
paid?
paid.
You got to thank you till you're better paid, but that's about it. And my time's not worth nothing. Your mother's time isn't worth. Actually, we put her out on the harrow while we were
Oh yeah.
doing
Got
that.
some
So
videos of that.
yeah, because she just had to do that. I mean, it had to be done. So that was a good use of time.
So one parting question I think before we wrap this up is how did you cap the ends? I guess there's probably different ways to do it, but how did you do it in preparation for the guys that are coming in? Did you do based off of what they specifically requested, or did you ask, or did you just kind of think about, hey, this is probably what they'll want, so this is how I'll do it?
Well, it took a significant amount of time to find the line coming into the house. I
Yeah.
didn't know which side of the wall on a corner it was at from the meter in. So obviously, chop the power, cut the breaker, and then started digging with a shovel right at the end by the house, and went down about 24, 30 inches and found where the wires went in. And so then dug that back probably a couple of 2 or 3 feet deep, trying to find where that line turned and went to the pole so that I could avoid that with the trencher. And then there, right now, you just got some open holes with the wires coming up out of the ground back away from where they would go in. So it took a couple hours for me to dig that by hand. I mean, literally by hand, and uh, sometimes on your belly, and
Being
using
careful.
another rock to scrape. Yeah, because you don't want to nick. I don't want to nick that wire with a shovel,
Yeah.
even though it's really hard casing. You don't want to do that because the minute you do that and turn the power on, it's going to go to ground, and then you're done. You got no power.
It's like water. I've had to fix some pipe for some cousins because
Yeah,
somebody nicked just ever so much,
barely.
and they had water all over.
Yep. So it's going to flow. Electricity does the same thing, only with smaller holes. So
Yep.
yeah, so we just have exposed wires out there. They're not hot at all. They're not hooked up. They're just laying out there with, and it kills me. You got to buy extra wire at about $2 a foot
Mm,
on 4 different cables. Some of them are a
yep.
little cheaper. Some about $1.50 a foot, but some of that's just going to get cut off. It's waste. But you know what? At least we're not having to splice a wire, make a
Yeah.
connection, and do it. It's all contiguous and uh, all in one piece. So they're just waiting for them, and it'll be nice to have this done and these overhead lines out of here, and that stuff done a lot better with updated meter and meter box, service box, and amperage service. So we'll still have 220. We'll have the ability to lock out the power if the power does go down and it's down for an extended time. We have the ability to lock the power out, plug in a generator, and power everything on the generator. So that'll be nice too.
Nice. Good deal.
Yeah, I'll do that from the shop.
All right. I think with that, we will put it out to pasture.